In 1992, a 15-year-old girl vanished on her walk home, and for the next 30 years, no one knew what happened to her. No evidence, no body, no trail, just a family left in pieces, and a town frozen in fear. But in 2022, 3 decades later, a woman walked into a small police station in Montana and quietly said her name. Emily Harper had returned, and the truth she carried with her was darker than anything investigators were prepared for. Tonight, we uncover every detail: the abduction, the secret cabin, the second captor, and the twist that opened a much bigger case. Before we begin, let me know in the comments, where in the world are you watching from? Your response helps this documentary reach more people. This is the story of the missing teen who returned 30 years later, and the horrifying truth she brought with her. On a cold November morning in 2022, just after sunrise, a woman walked into a small police station in rural Montana. She looked exhausted, not just tired, but hollow, like someone who'd been awake for days, or maybe years. Her hair was tangled, her clothes oversized and worn like they'd belonged to someone else. She stepped up to the front desk, placed her shaking hands on the counter, and said 7 words that changed everything. "I think someone has been looking for me." The officer behind the desk, a man named Deputy Harris, studied her face. There was something strangely familiar about her, a faint echo of a person he'd seen before, but he couldn't place it, so he gently asked her name. She hesitated, swallowed hard, and whispered, I think my name is Emily." And that moment, that quiet, trembling moment, reopened a case that had been cold for 3 decades. A case that started in 1992. A case many believed would never be solved. A case involving a missing girl, a small town full of secrets, and a truth that would shock everyone who thought they knew what happened to her. Because Emily Harper had disappeared when she was 16 years old, and for 30 years the world believed she was dead. To understand why this moment in 2022 was so shocking, why it brought FBI agents out of retirement and stunned an entire community, we need to go back to where it all began. Back to the quiet little town of Silver Creek, Oregon. Silver Creek in 1992 wasn't the kind of place people talked about. It wasn't famous, it wasn't dangerous, it wasn't special, it was just home. A small logging town with a single high school, 1 grocery store, and a diner that doubled as the town's unofficial news center. And at the heart of this quiet, predictable community lived Emily Harper. Emily was the kind of girl people described as sweet, artistic, or too soft for this world. She had light brown, wavy hair, a denim jacket she wore everywhere, and a worn-out sketchbook she never went without. She lived with her mother, Claire, a nurse at the local clinic, and her father, Tom, who worked long hours at the sawmill. Life wasn't perfect, but it was stable until the night everything changed. It was October 18th, 1992, a Sunday. Emily had spent most of the afternoon drawing at the old picnic table behind her house, sketching trees and songbirds as the leaves fell around her. She had plans later, a movie night with her best friend, Amanda, but just after 5 p.m. she stood up, closed her sketchbook, and told her mother, "I'm going for a short walk before I meet Amanda." That was the last time Claire saw her daughter alive. She never made it to Amanda's house. She never returned home. And when Emily didn't show up for school the next morning, the search began. At first, the police believed she'd run away. She was a teenager after all. Young people leave all the time, they said. But Emily wasn't like that. She wasn't impulsive, she wasn't unhappy, and she hadn't taken a single item with her. Not a bag, not extra clothes, not money. Nothing. Just her denim jacket and her sketchbook. For weeks, Silver Creek searched for her. Dozens of volunteers combed the forests, riverbanks, and abandoned cabins. They followed every tip, questioned every local, and searched miles of rugged terrain. But Emily was gone, just gone. And slowly, painfully, the search efforts faded. By winter, the posters were sun-bleached and peeling. By spring, hope had shrunk into a memory. And eventually, people said what no parent wants to hear. Maybe she's not coming back. By 1994, Emily Harper's disappearance had officially turned into a cold case. Detectives worked every angle. They interviewed classmates, friends, teachers, even strangers who had passed through Silver Creek that week. But the case had no leads, no suspects, no evidence. Her mother never stopped searching. Her father never stopped blaming himself. And the town slowly learned to live with the ache of not knowing. But what they didn't realize was that the truth had never been far away. Someone in that town knew exactly what happened to Emily Harper. Someone had been carrying the secret for decades. Someone who believed they'd never be caught. Until 2022, when the woman walked into the Montana police station in 2022, she couldn't explain much. She didn't know where she'd been. She didn't know who she'd been with. She didn't even know how she'd gotten there. But she knew one thing. "My name is Emily," she repeated. "I think I used to live in Oregon." Deputy Harris ran her fingerprints through the system. They didn't match any recent records, but then he checked something else, the National Database of Missing Persons. And suddenly, a red file appeared. Emily Harper, missing. Silver Creek, Oregon. Last seen, October 18, 1992. Age at disappearance, 16. He stared at the photo. He stared at the woman in front of him, and his jaw slowly dropped. Her hair was darker, her face older, her eyes tired, but the resemblance was undeniable. Harris quietly stepped out to call his supervisor. When he returned, he said gently, "Ma'am, I think we found your family." When the call came through to the Silver Creek Sheriff's Office, nobody believed it at first. Claire Harper, Emily's mother, collapsed when she heard the words, "We think your daughter is alive?" For 30 years, she'd visited Emily's empty room. For 30 years, she'd kept the old denim jacket hanging by the door. For 30 years, she'd imagined all the ways her daughter might have died, but she had never imagined this. News spread through the town like wildfire. Teachers who'd taught Emily cried. Friends who had grown up without her broke down. People gathered outside the Harper home, stunned. But with the shock came a darker question that nobody wanted to say out loud. Where had Emily been for 30 years? And how had she survived? Before we go deeper, I want to ask you something. And this helps the video get recommended to more viewers. Comment below. Where in the world are you watching from tonight? I love seeing how far these stories travel. All right, let's continue. When investigators met the woman claiming to be Emily, they immediately noticed several things. She flinched at sudden movements. She avoided direct eye contact. She spoke in a soft, measured voice as if afraid of saying the wrong thing. She had scars, small, round scars, along her wrists. She had no identification, no phone, no records of employment, taxes, or medical care. And she had visible signs of long-term confinement. The FBI brought in a forensic psychologist, Dr. Marianne Lowell. After several hours, she gave a chilling assessment. This woman has lived under extreme control for decades. But how? And where? Emily couldn't explain much. Her memories came in fragments. A dark room, the smell of pine and diesel fuel, a man's boots, a locked door, and a single phrase whispered over and over, "Do not try to leave." Investigators feared the worst. Had Emily been held captive for 30 years? If so, by who? And why now, after all this time, had she been let go or escaped? Days after being found, Emily suddenly remembered something. Not a face, not a location, but a sound. A low, rumbling sound that echoed every morning, like large machines or engines. When investigators pressed her on it, she added something else, something small but crucial. "There were trees," Emily said. a lot of trees. And sometimes I heard chains. Chains, engines, pine trees. Investigators exchanged glances. In Oregon, especially in the early 90s, that meant one thing: logging sites. And suddenly, the FBI had their first real lead in 30 years. There was one man who had worked on almost every logging site near Silver Creek in 1992. His name was Samuel Grady, a quiet, isolated man who lived alone, a man who left town shortly after Emily disappeared, a man with a violent temper and a history of threatening women. Detectives interviewed him back in 1992, but he had an alibi at the time, confirmed by co-workers, or so they thought. In 2022, one of those former co-workers finally confessed, "We lied. Sam asked us to. He wasn't with us that day." Investigators raced to Grady's last known residence, a remote property deep in the Montana woods, less than 40 miles from the police station where Emily walked in. What they found there. When investigators reached Samuel Grady's last known residence, they didn't know what to expect. The property had been abandoned for over a decade, swallowed by thick forest, overgrown brush, and silence. The cabin itself was barely standing. The windows were boarded, the roof sagged under the weight of years, and the trees around it seemed to lean inward, as if trying to cover what had happened there. But the moment the FBI opened the warped wooden door, they sensed something was wrong. The air felt thick, stagnant, heavy with memories of someone who wanted to keep the world out. Inside, the team found a rusted metal cot, chains nailed into the floorboards, a collection of old boots, a faded photograph of a teenage girl with wavy brown hair, and a metal door in the back of the cabin, a door that led to a basement. The hinges were rusted, but the lock, disturbingly, was much newer, installed long after Grady had disappeared. When investigators pried it open and stepped inside, their flashlights swept across a small underground chamber. Bare concrete walls, a single bucket, scratch marks along the floor, and on one wall, etched into the concrete with something sharp. "My name is Emily Harper." The room went silent. This wasn't speculation. This wasn't a guess. This wasn't a theory. Emily had been here, and she had tried to leave a message. Forensics moved in immediately. They found fibers from a denim jacket, human hair matching Emily's DNA, and bone-deep indentations on the metal door, marks from someone pounding over and over, trying to break free. But there was something else, something strange. The chains in the room were old, rusty, clearly from the 90s, but the food cans and water jugs in one corner were not. They were dated 2017, 2019, 2021. Someone had been here recently. Someone had kept this place active. Someone had kept it stocked. But where was Grady? And why had Emily suddenly reappeared in 2022? Investigators' minds raced. Either 1. Samuel Grady was alive and had been living nearby, or 2. Someone else had taken over the cabin. Either theory was terrifying. When agents showed Emily a photo of the cabin, she froze. Her breath caught. Her hands trembled. Her eyes widened in terror. "That door," she whispered. "Please, don't make me go back there." But then, slowly, she began to remember something else. Something crucial. She remembered footsteps, not heavy ones like Grady's, but lighter. Younger. A second person. A voice she couldn't place. A voice she thought belonged to a boy. Maybe a teenager. This shocked investigators, because Samuel Grady lived alone. No wife, no kids, no visitors, no relatives who ever came forward. So who was the boy? And why had Emily never mentioned him before? 2 days later, Emily remembered more. She remembered hearing the boy cry. She remembered hearing him whisper through the walls. She remembered whispered warnings. "Don't scream. He hates it when you scream." She remembered one night, a night when Grady was drunk, the boy whispering, "He's going to take you away soon. Don't go with him." Emily didn't understand what that meant. Not then, not now. But the biggest revelation came next. In a trembling voice, she said, "I don't think the boy was a prisoner." Investigators froze. "What do you mean?" Emily swallowed. "Sometimes. He had keys." This changed everything. If the boy had keys, if he wasn't locked up, then he wasn't a captive. He was someone Grady trusted, someone he allowed to roam free. Was he an accomplice? A relative? A kidnapped child turned into an obedient assistant? Investigators dug into Grady's history, and they found something chilling. In 1989, 3 years before Emily disappeared, a child disappeared from a neighboring town. A 7-year-old boy named Liam Cartwright. He was last seen near a gas station. No evidence, no leads, case unsolved. And Liam would have been about 10 years old when Emily was taken. The right age, the right area, the right timeline. And according to old files, Liam had brown hair and hazel eyes, just like the faint figure Emily remembered through the wall. Investigators now had 2 paths. 1, find Samuel Grady. 2, find the boy, Liam, if he was still alive. But suddenly, a breakthrough arrived from the forensic psychologists. They suggested something unusual. Emily's memories might come back faster if she revisited Silver Creek, her hometown, her childhood streets, the place where she disappeared. It was risky, emotionally overwhelming, but Emily agreed. And that decision uncovered the first major twist of the entire investigation. When Emily returned to Silver Creek after 30 years, the town stood still. People lined the streets. Some cried. Some whispered prayers. Some couldn't stop staring, trying to reconcile the teenager they remembered with the quiet, trembling woman before them. Emily's mother held her for the first time in 3 decades. Her knees buckled, her voice broke. Her hands trembled as she touched her daughter's face like she feared it would disappear. But Emily wasn't just here to reunite with her family. Investigators took her to the path she walked the night she disappeared. The old dirt road, the rusted sign, the tree line where the forest thickened. And suddenly, violently, a memory hit her. She gasped, she clutched her head, her body shook, and she pointed toward the woods. "I didn't go missing here," she cried. "I was taken somewhere else first." Emily remembered a truck, not Grady's, a different one. A pickup with a broken left mirror, a faded red paint job, and a sticker on the back window, a sticker she'd never understood as a teenager. A green pine tree with a circle around it. Agents recognized it instantly. It wasn't just a sticker. It was the emblem of North Ridge Logging Company, a subcontractor that worked in rural Oregon in the early 1990s. But here's the twist. Samuel Grady never worked for that company. So the question became, who was the man who picked up Emily that night? Was it another worker? A friend of Grady's? Someone who brought her to Grady? And why did that company's name trigger the most important memory yet? Emily started shaking. 2 men. Not one. She remembered being taken to a temporary logging site first, a remote location used by contractors. She remembered being dragged into a shed. She remembered the smell of gasoline. She remembered hearing 2 voices arguing, one voice deep, one voice younger, and then she whispered, "The boy wasn't a prisoner. He was the younger man's son." The room went silent. Investigators suddenly realized something horrifying. Emily wasn't taken by Grady alone. She was transferred, handed off, sold, or given to him, which meant Grady wasn't acting alone. There was a second abductor, a man who had disappeared from the narrative, a man who had never been suspected, a man who might still be alive. Agents reviewed every contractor who worked for Northridge Logging in the fall of 1992. One name stood out: Earl Merrick, age 29, heavy drinker, fired in November 1992, left Oregon in 1993 and was never seen again. And the detail that shook everyone: Earl had a 7-year-old son, a son named Liam, the missing boy. The child believed kidnapped. But what if he was never missing at all? What if he had been with his father the whole time? What if he'd grown up inside the shadows of a crime he didn't understand? Investigators now had 2 suspects, Samuel Grady and Earl Merrick. They also had reason to believe Earl had died years ago. A bar fight, a fall, no record afterward, but there was no proof. And Liam? No trace, no sightings, no identification, no death certificate, nothing. A ghost. Unless he wasn't. Because just as the investigation began losing direction, a woman at a homeless shelter in Montana came forward. She said a quiet, withdrawn man had been living there until 2018. A man who never gave his last name, had brown hair and hazel eyes, was terrified of police, had scars on his wrists, and always muttered the same phrase in his sleep: "Don't scream. He hates when you scream." His name. He called himself Lee, a shortened form of Liam. Agents tracked him down to a small town 2 hours from where Emily was found. They brought him in. He was thin, pale, trembling. A man who had lived his entire life under someone's control. But when investigators showed him a picture of Emily from 1992, he broke down. He cried so hard he couldn't breathe. And then he said the 3 words that cracked the case open: "I tried helping." What Liam revealed over the next 4 hours was more disturbing than anyone expected. He had lived with his father, Earl, until he was 10. Earl was abusive, controlling, unpredictable. When Emily was taken in 1992, Earl brought her to a temporary logging shed. But Earl wasn't planning to keep her. He wanted to teach a lesson to the world, as he said. But something happened. Earl and Grady argued. Things got violent. Grady overpowered Earl, and after that night, Earl vanished. Liam didn't see his father again. Grady took him, raised him, trained him to obey, to help, to stay quiet. And together, though Liam had no choice, they lived in the cabin for years, until Liam escaped in 2018, 4 years before Emily did. When asked how Emily finally escaped, Liam revealed the final missing piece. Grady died in the winter of 2022. Yeah, a stroke. Emily found him on the floor of the cabin. She waited 3 days, too terrified to leave. When she finally walked out into the forest, she followed old logging paths until she reached a highway, and from there, she walked. Hours, miles. Day turned to night. Cold air stung her lungs, until she saw the lights of a small Montana town and a police station. When investigators asked Emily if she wanted to see Liam, the boy who had tried to help her, who had been trapped just like her, she hesitated. Then she nodded. The moment they saw each other, both broke down in tears. 2 survivors, 2 children taken by the same monster, 2 souls who carried 30 years of pain. But then Liam said something shocking. There were others. Investigators froze. Others? Liam nodded. Girls. But he moved them. Different cabins. Different places. I never saw their faces. The room fell silent. If Liam was telling the truth, Emily might not be the only missing person connected to Grady. There could be more victims, more survivors, or more bodies that had never been found. The investigation is still open to this day, and the truth about Samuel Grady may be far darker and far bigger than anyone ever believed.